Hi, we're going to be reading from a book called Racketeering in Medicine, The Suppression of Alternatives. And the author is James P. Carter, M.D. Also, he's got a doctorate in public health. And this book came out in 1992, and nothing has changed. And I think it's a really good summary and statement of where we're at with our medical system. And I am hammering this point because I don't think people get how bad it is. And if you've dealt with the medical system, you've probably been irritated and annoyed. If you've had a serious problem with them, they may have crippled or you might be dead, in which case you wouldn't be listening to this. It's bad. And just like you have to worry about muggers and, infectious diseases and other facts of life, you got to worry about the medical system. Sorry to be so blunt. Hope I'm not ruining your day. But if you're counting on these guys for ethics and competence, you may pay a terrible price for that. And we just have to inform ourselves. So anyway, the book is called Racketeering in Medicine, The Suppression of Alternatives by James P. Carter. And he is, or was, because this was already a long time ago, 25 years ago, the head of the nutrition section of the Department of Applied Health Sciences, School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine, Tulane University. And again, he's an MD and a doctor of public health. So not a fringe character, not a conspiracy theorist. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to read the introduction. It's really a good definition of the problem. And defining the problem well is half the battle. The American public has no idea how politics secretly control the practice of medicine. If a doctor dares to introduce a natural, less costly method, no matter how safe or effective, organized American medicine can target this doctor for license revocation using fear tactics and legal maneuvering. Why do holistic therapies threaten medicine? 1, they involve a major change in scientific thought. 2, they imply that current methods are inadequate. And 3, they threaten huge profits of a powerful branch of medicine or a drug company. Quite the opposite occurred with the immediate embrace of heart bypass surgery and balloon angioplasty. These moneymakers quickly brought wealth and fame to heart specialists and surgeons, large teams of healthcare professionals, and the hospital industry. The fact that they save lives and improve the quality of life for many is not disputed. Such high-tech breakthroughs, however, were never proven by double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. Little sidebar. If it makes money, they're not worried about double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. They're only worried about it if it's a natural, inexpensive remedy that you can buy in the drugstore or supermarket. But far less risky and cheaper alternative therapies with astonishing healing results are frequently blocked. I want to read that again. Far less risky and cheaper alternative therapies with astonishing healing results are frequently blocked. Why? Their safety and effectiveness has not, quote, been proven, unquote, though FDA-required studies that now cost over $200 million to complete. American medicine either doesn't know or doesn't care about naturally based medical practices, indigenous to cultures all over the world that have promoted healing at a fraction of the cost. American medicine has also isolated and quarantined new ideas and treatments which have arisen in this country, especially when they have been contrary to the prevailing point of view or when the discoverer was unpopular or did not have the right credentials. American medicine has been incapable of taking a world point of view and of overcoming professional classicism, which prevents them from accepting the innovations of, quote, outsiders. Do doctors prescribe what's good for you or what's lucrative for them? This article, which appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times, revealed how the drug industry is a doctor's main source of information about drugs. Drug companies provide lavish incentives for the prescription of those drugs, and sales incentives border on bribes. It is, quote, business as usual for drug companies to introduce themselves early in the doctor's career. Often companies will buy a medical student's first stethoscope or black bag. During a doctor's internship and residency, it is a good investment for a drug company to offer, say, a free weekend at a ski resort to interns who agree to attend a seminar on one of the company's currently featured drugs. As a doctor begins to build his or her practice, drug companies provide free business cards and free samples of medicine. Sales reps leave prescription pads and pens emblazoned with their company logos for the drugs they have just advised the doctor to prescribe. And in 2019, believe me, the bribery goes way beyond that. To promote their products, which carry an average 800% price markup, you know, it's okay. You need a markup to be in business. I'm sidebarring here, but 800%. To promote their products, which carry an average 800% price markup, drug companies spent more than $5,000 on every single doctor in the U.S. in 1988, all 479,000 of them. Now, there's many more doctors today, and that $5,000 number, I'm sure, is much higher. Drug industry critics note that patients must pay this $5,000 per doctor ad campaign through the sky-high cost of the prescriptions they buy. Now, here's a case. When the patent on the beta blocker drug Inderol expired, the competition from other drug companies heated up. To thwart the expected drop in sales, the manufacturer of Inderol, Wyeth Arist, developed a promotional package that went like this. Frequent flyer points for American Airlines were awarded to doctors who prescribed Inderol. Doctors who wrote 50 prescriptions for the heart drug could claim a free round-trip ticket to anywhere in the continental United States. This tactic backfired in Massachusetts. However, Inderol is on the Medicaid formulary in that state. The state, therefore, will pick up the tab. The Attorney General's office got wind of this unethical promotion and investigated. The Attorney General ruled that the frequent flyer incentive amounted to fraud and threatened the company with criminal charges. Wyeth Ayers settled out of court with Massachusetts for a mere $195,000 and withdrew its promotion in that state. There's 49 other states. There are many money incentives in modern medicine, and often medical research can result in corporate crimes. We've put up many videos about that. A type of, quote, white-collar crime. The apparent criminal behavior addressed in this book involves mostly fraud and antitrust violations. At the root of all these transgressions is undoubtedly a dogmatic pursuit of profit. Throughout this book, reference is often made to organized medicine. This term is not meant to be synonymous with the American Medical Association to the exclusion of other entities. Rather, it is a term used to refer to a broad range of established medical interests, which include the American Medical Association, state medical associations, medical specialty organizations, state boards of medical examiners, medical schools and teaching hospitals, the American Hospital Association, the National Health Insurance Association, representing some 1,500 companies, and the entire drug, pharmaceutical, and medical equipment industry. That's quite a lineup against the public. They also have been lumped together as the medico-pharmaceutical industrial complex, and this book uses the two terms interchangeably. The reader should understand that references to an individual's connections to or representation of organized medicine refers to that person's relationship with any segment of the wide-ranging mosaic of special interest groups who wield undue influence for maximizing profit and perpetuating the status quo in medical fields. This book will tell you the true story about the frightening power mongers who have orchestrated financially motivated cover-ups for the purpose of, 1, controlling the treatment of heart disease and related conditions of stroke and peripheral vascular disease, controlling the treatment of cancer, promoting the use of drugs in the treatment of psychosomatic disorders which respond better to stress management, promoting drugs instead of acupuncture to relieve chronic pain, discounting natural remedies and nutritional therapies as being useless, and controlling the treatment of advanced cases of AIDS, which have remained incurable in part because of the failure to consider alternatives. That's the book. And again, it's called Racketeering in Medicine, The Suppression of Alternatives by James P. Carter, MD. There's a fascinating chapter in here about the Ninth Amendment. And the Ninth Amendment says the following: the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And what they mean to say is other rights retained by the people. So what does that mean in plain English? It means certain rights of American citizens are spelled out in the Constitution, but the Ninth Amendment is very clear. If something isn't spelled out in the Constitution, it's still a right. They didn't expect that every single right imaginable was going to be spelled out in the Bill of Rights. And we can thank James Madison for putting that in there. How does that apply to medicine? Well, believe it or not, you should have the right to go to any healing practitioner you want. And believe it or not, anybody who wants to call themselves a health practitioner should be able to, as long as they provide proper disclosure. And this was put to me by a doctor who fights for medical rights, medical freedom. And she said, look, if the truck driver's read 3 books and he's really good at curing something, and you want to go to him, and he discloses and you sign off that he is a truck driver who's only read 3 books, you should be free to engage in that commercial relationship, and he should be free too. That's not how it works now. That truck driver will go to jail. And if a medical doctor discovers something that's outside of the standard, with the so-called standard of care, which is 99.999% dictated by the pharmaceutical industry and the medical instrument industry, equipment industry, if they find something that works, that's safe, that's effective, that's cheap, that has no downside, and they give it to you, in many, many states, most states in this union, they can have their license challenged and in many cases taken away. And the history of American medicine, especially since the rise of this medical industrial complex, has been good, ethical, talented, dedicated doctors having their licenses removed for the crime of healing people. So anyway, the book, Racketeering in Medicine, really good. Suppression of Alternatives. We're going to have more information on the medical freedom, health freedom movement in the United States. For some reason, I wonder why. It's not being promoted very well by the mainstream news media, but it's rooted in the Constitution, the Ninth Amendment of the Constitution. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by the people. So we have a stated right to assembly. We have a stated right to free speech. We have a right not to present incriminating evidence against ourselves. We also have a right to do whatever we please, as long as it's not expressly illegal and or causes harm to other people. That's the Ninth Amendment. It's a constitutional right. I have to confess, until I read this book, I wasn't even aware it existed. And I'm going to guess that 90% of our listeners aren't aware that it existed. And I bet an even larger percentage isn't aware that it relates to medical freedom. And this is the linchpin of everything. There are certain states like Alaska, at least according to this book, I don't know if anything's changed up there, that have medical freedom on the books. And the law says a healthcare practitioner cannot lose their license for prescribing something outside of the standard of care. That's a law in Alaska. And it's almost enough to make me want to move to Alaska. And we need more states to follow suit. And we're going to do research to see how many states actually have medical freedom laws. And we're going to do more research into the whole medical freedom movement, which is as American as apple pie. And we need to shine a spotlight on it.